What's up, guys? Back here for a new Swedish video, and today I'm gonna talk a little bit about the past tense in Swedish. So, things that you did or someone did yesterday or 5 minutes ago, and so forth. So, the past tense. Alright, let's get to it. So, to help with today's short video, I prepared a document with some exercises because I wanted to explain the past tense. And in summary, we have five major tenses in Swedish. So we have the present, presens, which tend to end with a R, almost all of them, except a few exceptions, which are like andas, to breathe, etc. But hoppa would be the present. Then we have the past, which typically is referred nowadays to preteritum. That used to be called imperfect, but nowadays we just say preteritum for the past tense in Swedish. These end with de if it is a regular verb. So that means it's the opposite of English, right? Whereas a word like talk would be talked. So we turn the words around in Swedish. It's de, not ed. And this is true. This is true for all regular verbs. If they're not regular, you might get something like this. Att leka, to play. But in the past, yesterday, igår, lekte jag. So the irregular takes different forms, and those really you have to learn, just like in English. Then we have the perfect, which works the same way as in English, where you would have an auxiliary verb, which in Swedish always is ha, but in English it's either has or have, depending on the person and number. Then we have plusquamperfekt in Swedish as well, which is events that occurred before another event in the past. And those always have the auxiliary verb hade, which would be had in English. These two forms of the past, which are combined tenses, they're not single word tense, which is why I always say that we only have one past tense form. Always end with a T. So that's a good giveaway when you see these words that they end with a T. They will always have ha or hade in front of them, and it's always the past. Then of course we have the future, ska hoppa, will jump, or going to. I'm going to jump, jag kommer att. So we have both forms in Swedish to express the future. But the important here for today is preteritum, the past tense, that takes the de in the regular form. Okay, so let's do some exercises together. The first one here, klappa, that can be a noun, but it's also a verb in the present tense. So if I say klappa, that is kind of like caress someone or pet someone, like an animal or something. So let's try to change this into the past tense, and you can do it as well in your head. Jag klappade hästen. So here we have the verb klappa together with an object, which is the horse. Jag klappade hästen. The second verb, sitter, means to sit. So what would that be in the past tense? If I said I sat on my chair for 5 minutes, what would that be? Jag satt på stolen i 5 minuter. I sat on the chair for 5 minutes. And as I've talked to in a previous video, the preposition Swedish preposition e is for duration of time. So that's why we need to use e here. Dricker, to drink. What would it be if I said I like to drink Coca-Cola? No. Yesterday I drank Coca-Cola. What would that be in Swedish? Igår drack jag Coca-Cola. Drack, as you might see, irregular. So these sentences are fairly easy. It's just that you have to memorize the past tense irregular forms. There's no way around it, especially if you want to be able to express yourself well. Okay, stoppar, to put. If I said I put down my pants in my backpack, what would that be? That would be jag stoppade ner. We use a particular verb when we say put down, so that's why we need to say stoppade ner mina byxor i min ryggsäck. I put down my pants in my backpack. Or in the backpack, if I said that. I don't quite remember. But stoppade ner. So again, regular. Lägger. That is to put. Although it doesn't exactly work in the same way. What should we say that there? I put the book. I put the book on the table 5 minutes ago. What would that be in Swedish? I'm writing the wrong word. Jag la boken på bordet för 5 minuter sedan. La is the past tense form, actually. So there's actually a vowel shift here. Lägger, jag lägger, men jag la. The other more formal way of saying la is lade. I personally like to make that distinction in writing. I think that's what you should do. There is another form which is the same verb to say, right? Jag sa, you will see a lot in novels, but I like to make the distinction and write sade. Alright, tycker. If I were to say I liked you before, what would that be? I liked you before you ate my pizza, for example. Jag tyckte om, irregular, again, innan du åt min pizza. I liked you, or I used to like you, before you ate my pizza. So up until that point, I liked you, but not anymore. Fångar, to grab, to catch. Let's say I captured 3 birds today. How would you say that? That would be jag fångade 3 fåglar idag. I captured 3 birds today. Reser, to travel in the present tense. How would you say that in the past? If I want to say I traveled to Germany last week, how would you say that? I traveled to Germany last week, i förra veckan. You can also change it for under. Sometimes under works in a similar way as i, when it is in the sense of during. Så jag reste till Tyskland i förra veckan. Sov, sleep, or in this case, slept. Let's keep it simple. Jag sov 5 minuter. Jag sov 5 minuter i natt. I slept 5 minutes this night. Fairly simple. Finns. So finns is the verb that we use in English, or the corresponding word in English is, there are, right? In English, they make the distinction depending if it's plural or not. We don't. We only say it in the present, and then we make another distinction for the past. So the phrase would be in Swedish: Det finns 5 äpplen . There are 5 apples on the table. Or, if we wanna make it in the past, which was the point of the exercise, it changes to fanns. Det fanns 5 äpplen på bordet för 5 minuter sedan. And because we said för, that means there were 5 apples in the table 5 minutes ago, but not anymore. Säger, we already said, I think. Sade, right? Jag sa till min vän att han skulle gå till skolan. Jag sa till min vän, and then a dependent clause, what you said. I said to my friend that he should go to school. Skulle, we could change it to borde, should as well. Petar is kind of poke. So it depends on if it's regular or not. I poked my friend on his shoulder, for example. Jag petade till. We tend to say, if it's just nudged someone, we pointed them to get their attention, we tend to add till. Jag petade till min vän på axeln. Or you could say hans axel. So I poked my friend on his shoulder, or the shoulder. Kan. Can is one of those modal verbs. Just like in English we have can and could. So what would that be in the past in Swedish? Innan jag lärde mig spanska. Before I learned Spanish, I only knew Swedish. Kunde jag enbart prata svenska. Before I learned Spanish, I could only speak Swedish. Very good. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. Spelar. So spelar tends to be to play. So for example, we would play TV games or video games. So let's try. I played God of War yesterday. What would that be? Jag spelade God of War igår. Ljuger. What is that? That's one of those irregular as well. So jag ljuger. I lie. I lied to my mother earlier today. Jag ljög för min mamma tidigare idag. I lied to my mother earlier today. Very easy. To come. I came home 5 minutes ago. Jag, and then what? Kom hem. And then the word sedan that we tend to use when we say ago, right? I came home 5 minutes ago. That is the construction we use. Berättar. Berättar. Irregular or regular. Jag berättade om min resa för en timme sedan. Jag berättade om min resa för en timme sedan. I talked about my trip 1 hour ago. And then we have äter, one of those tricky verbs, very frequent verbs too. Let's take something like this. I åt pizza varje vecka 2021. Jag åt pizza varje vecka. We can also add year. Jag åt pizza varje vecka år 2021. I ate pizza every week the year 2021. And then cyklar. How would you say I biked to the park a month ago? Jag cyklade till parken för en månad sedan. Regular, so we get the DE form. Alright guys, I hope that's it for this time. Just a quick overview of the past tense in Swedish that, according to me, is not that hard. Should you want to get more into the depth of this or the past tenses and so forth, you can also book a class with me and we'll go over whatever you need to. So that's an option too. Remember that most teachers on Italki teaching, they are actually not teachers. They are 90% tutors, meaning only native speakers, and then there's about 5% who has the status of professional but only has some kind of certificate, for a month-long certificate, which doesn't make you a teacher, of course. And then there's about 5% actual teachers that has a 5-year degree. So just be aware of that when you look for professional teachers. All right, have a good one.